Hello and welcome to Shades and Layers. I'm your host, Kutwanos Kosana Richi, and today we are talking about transformation and reinvention. My guest is social entrepreneur, yogi, and DJ Fikile Moeti. Many of you might know her as a daytime radio DJ from 5FM and also as an MTV presenter. But a few years ago, she left radio and television behind. She left South Africa for Tanzania and welcomed a new season that would allow her to continue shining a light into the lives of other humans. All of this coincided with COVID, turning 30, the birth of her child, and a painful divorce. In today's conversation, we discuss her journey to becoming a yogi, or Lightworker as she calls herself, doing business in Tanzania, her philanthropic work through her very own social enterprise, the Fix Scholarship, and how she blends her different talents and interests to create a meaningful life. If you've ever dreamed about working and living abroad, or how to live more creatively, then this is the episode for you. Here is Fikile Moeti in her own words. I think a good place to start is to start with you describing the core of your work and the deeper meaning you attach to the activities that you engage in.
Wow, that is a loaded question now. It never was a loaded question before.
Mm-hmm.
Because I defined me very much by what my job at that time was.
Yep. That's why I asked the question.
So one thing I can say to you right now of who I am now is who I think I've always been from childhood is that I'm an entertainer.
Mm-hmm.
It's one thing I know I'm very good at doing. And a chapter that I've come into is healing. So I consider myself, I call myself more of a light worker. And that's just a gift that I've carried from childhood that I've only come into fully embracing most recently. So if you want to put it together, I'd say I am in essence, if I had to say who is Fikile Moeti, I would say I am an entertainer and I am a light worker and I make it work somehow.
That's wonderful. So what did Lightworker look like when you were younger?
Oh, so I'm from a place in South Africa called East London, or should I say where my village is a place called Namakwe. We're the ones with the clicks. And my mom and I were walking in East London, which is like a city close by, not so far away from our village, where most of my family also settled. And I went to school there. And we were walking in a mall and a lady came up to my mom and she said, "Listen, your daughter has healing hands." And my mom at the time obviously was just a little bit, she's in the mall, she's got responsibilities, not thinking much of it, looked at her and just said, "Thank you, I think." She didn't really know what to think of it. And just said, "Yeah, she's got healing hands." And that was it. And the lady continued on. And my mom reminds me of that every day since she's seen my journey and where I am today.
Yeah.
And it's something definitely that I've stepped into and didn't go the traditional route and decided to go and figure this out in Fikile's way, my own way, because I'm quite diverse and multifaceted, and particularly in my upbringing.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, which is a bit complex.
Yeah, we're going to talk about all of that.
So I hope that answers your question as to where that started.
Yeah. I mean, right now, how does that manifest itself, the light work?
Yeah. So initially, I mean, right now I am a yoga teacher.
Mm-hmm.
I found a lot of my, I want to say, shamanic journey. In South Africa, we talk about sangomas. Like that is the journey that I feel that I've been on in a different way. All these conscious, connected ways were kind of coming towards me, and I found that more in Eastern medicine, in Chinese medicine.
Right. Mm-hmm.
Within yoga philosophy. And I thought, let me dig deeper here. And so I decided to get my teacher trainings, and COVID happened soon afterwards. And I was like, what? I'm just going to quit my job while I'm at it and go live on an African island, Zanzibar in Tanzania to be very specific, and just continue on with my healing journey because I want to heal personally. So, and that was a turning point for me for something that I went through, and to open up a studio where I've built a conscious community that is not only yoga focused. And that was the beauty about this discovery of self. And this is why I say Lightworker, because as much as I called it a yoga studio or a yoga shala, if you want to call it, it's a beautiful place on the beach in Zanzibar, in a village called Cairo, Kiwengwa, to be exact. We created this. I created this, and I need to stop doing that, by the way. I need to stop saying we.
Why do you keep saying we?
That's a story. That's a story for Fixed Scholarship as well. When I started the Fixed Scholarship.
Right. Okay.
We'll get to that. But I always said we, and I need to stop doing that and be proud and not feel ashamed. And I deservedly should say I started a conscious community in the east of Kiwengwa, and it was so much needed. There were a lot of women, and Zanzibar is a very yin island. It's a feminine island. You feel it when you're there. We say pole pole, which is slowly.
Slowly.
That's it. And, for those that don't know,
picked up some Swahili,
yeah. In Tanzania, in Swahili, pole pole meaning so it's you have to embrace it because you can't fight the passiveness of it. It's going to be passive. It's going to be slow, and you can fight it, or you can just kind of relax and work with it. And it's a beautiful thing that we've created. I've created there. So it includes yoga, it includes music, it includes compassion healing too, from my one-on-ones, and we do a lot of cord cutting. So whatever like the client
sounds amazing.
we go around it. But yes, my background and my base is based on yoga philosophy. Yoga is a huge part of this discovery.
Nice.
And it's just getting deeper.
Nice. Why Zanzibar? I mean, you would think South Africans closest is Mozambique. You might want to dabble there. So what drew you to Zanzibar?
I have to be honest. I've been visiting Zanzibar for the past 12 years. It was my first time, and I loved the place. I always said if I ever wanted to move, being in South Africa, I always said if I wanted to move somewhere, it would definitely be to East Africa. I was very drawn to the Swahili people. There's a part of me I feel inside them. So I always say like I feel ancestry when I'm there too. That is an energy thing. You just
there's just some places which you connect to. Yeah.
Exactly.
I hear you.
So I decided, you know what, if it's going to be anywhere on the continent, it's going to be there. I mean, I partly grew up in Botswana as well.
I know.
So
You've got quite a story. Yeah, there's Botswana, there's England somewhere in the mix. You know, it's all happening here.
I've got that background. So I think I've always just known growing up, I've always known there's above and beyond South Africa, 100%.
Sure.
And I've appreciated other African cultures so much, having grown up outside of South Africa, which I didn't see really amongst my peers who were born, bred in South Africa and had no aspiration really about traveling on the continent.
No, we don't travel, you know?
It was about overseas.
You know?
But and particularly Black South Africans. It's one of those things where there are not many Black South Africans that were traveling to Zanzibar, for instance. And now I'm seeing more of a popularity of Black of African women coming in their groups coming through, because they're just like, it's Africa. Like, I'm right here. I want to go somewhere, I want to be super different. So, I mean, each to their own, but there's a feeling of home. So I live in a village. I don't live in a city. It's something that I appreciate so much. I live in it reminds me of living on a farm almost.
Right.
I simplified my life, and I wanted to simplify my life a whole lot more. I appreciate so much more in my life.
Right.
Little things when I come home, and I mean, we just spoke about it earlier. I've actually come home to come and visit my mom and see how she's doing. So I think just particularly coming out of COVID, I'm so happy with that. I'm so happy with the deep appreciation of leaving the Fikile in the city for now, especially during that time, and going, their necessities is what I need for now.
Sure.
And let's see how this goes. And that's been a big part of that spiritual awakening, massive part, actually.
So you decided to simplify your life and, you left radio and you left South Africa. Those are huge, huge changes.
Big shift to just, take it a few steps back. Once upon a time, I would call myself a radio DJ.
Yeah, exactly.
It's like, what are you? I wouldn't say entertain. I would say I'm a radio DJ. And before I was on radio, I would have said, oh, I'm an MTV VJ and that's what I do, and that's how I kind of entered into the industry. But after doing that, and I started that when I was 19 years old, is where that career began. I was studying film and media at the University of Cape Town. Right. And decided to, try out to be a presenter on TV. I knew I had an underlying talent of just an urge to entertain. So it happened and moved my life to Johannesburg. It felt like, I always say when someone asks me this question, I always go, it reminded me of one of those Idols moments where you're like in the top 3 and then all of a sudden you're holding hands, or in like a beauty pageant and you're all holding hands and you're like, oh my gosh, is it going to be me? And I just want to put this out there. I knew it was going to be me. I that gut feel? I knew it was going to be me. And here's the weird part about it, is that at that moment I thought, do I really want this? Do I really want this? And that was those things are starting to come up a lot more now in the last 4 or 5 years. Did I really want it at that time? Or is this going to be good for me? So, I mean, that's always a ... at the end. I mean, you never know. It led me to where I am today.
Absolutely. It was a good platform, right?
Exactly. And that's exactly the word. It was a platform to many beautiful things that I got to do. But I struggled with the entertainment industry. It's the fickleness of it, the idea of being an it girl and consistently chasing this it girl model.
Yeah.
Was really, I mean, imagine being a 19-year-old who's kind of told you got to change this about yourself. You got to look like this. You got to be like this. You got to be at these parties all the time.
Of course.
You got to hang out with these people. I found myself very confused, but I've always been very thankful that I had such a grounded family. And I knew if anything should happen, I've always got my family to go back to. And that was always a reminder. My mom always said, don't go out there with these boys who have Mercedes Benzes and BMWs. We have that at home. I mean, we had one car, but...
I love that.
But she worked super hard. So she to make sure that she could provide everything for me. So she was just like, we can even ask our friends if you want to really ride in one of those cars. Don't go out with these. Yeah, I'm a kwenkwe, is what she used to say. Oh gosh.
Eastern Cape. I went to Rhodes. I missed that.
Oh, lovely. Oh, it's a special place. It's a real special place. So, I'm very thankful for the groundedness I came from, but none of my family members were in the public eye, So, and I mean, when I say in the public eye, particularly in the entertainment industry.
Of course, yeah.
So, as much as they wanted to guide me, they didn't know how to guide me and how best to guide me. And at the time, I think also with MTV, they were like, wow, this is the second year we're doing this. Let's just, do the best that we can do. I mean, MTV was only 2 years old at that time. So there was a lot of firsts for everybody. And it led me to radio, which I absolutely love. I absolutely love radio. And I continued on with radio. And that was a journey on its own, and a journey of confidence and really fighting. That's when I feel like my fight for women began also. When I stepped into the entertainment
radio,
industry.
Especially South African radio, it's just a boys' club through and through. I don't know if it's changed much, but it's just boys everywhere, and it's hard to break through. I mean, you were actually, breaking a lot of ground when you got to 5FM. That was pretty unique. I think before that was what? Maybe not Nicole Fox and Michelle Constant had been there.
Yes, Michelle Constance had
Was
been
DJ
there.
Cooler.
Kula had been there.
Yeah, yeah.
There was me and Poppy Poppy
Poppy,
Mshongana just had
yes,
arrived. Yeah,
yes.
she had
Yeah,
arrived just before me, so we were both in
yeah.
this place. And Anele and Grant
And Grant, yeah.
had just arrived afterwards. So, it was this. It you know the
It was a
it was
change. It
a
was a change,
it was
which
a
was
change.
necessary. It was a very long overdue change. Yeah.
It is. And when I left radio, particularly at 5FM, these things were brought up. They'd been bubbling under for a really long time. And we got to have these conversations. Thank you, COVID, once again, all of us on a WhatsApp group, because we all had to be on a WhatsApp group.
Yes.
And we all had to make these just, starting the new year, starting the new radio year, and us having to say, hey, we're starting a new year. We need to have these conversations. What's happening here? What's happening here? Like, there were so many changes and so many uncertainties, and everyone just kind of were not giving any F's anymore. They were just like, you know what?
Yeah,
I'm
we're
going to
just
say
gonna
what I
say
feel.
it.
Yeah. I'm going crazy in my house, and I'm just going to say what I feel. So yeah,
No, that's great. Yeah.
we were dealing with a lot of that, but it has changed. I'm seeing so many differences. I'm seeing powerful women she does the midday at the moment, and I've just seen her on the Espresso show. She's one of my favorites. Her name will come to me, just Zanele. She is just skyrocketing, and I see her because I saw her grooming at 5FM slowly, and I saw her hustling, and she used to work behind the scenes, and now she's in front of the mic, and it took her forever to get and to prove herself in front of the mic, and she's just doing so well. And I'm like, that's a young Black woman who really, really wants it, and I love seeing that.
Yeah,
it's why it's reasons behind that is why I started the Fix Scholarship, is because it wasn't about it was about what happens after. You're creating all this great magic, which is awesome, and your talent is out there, but what's it for? What's the purpose? What's the purpose?
Yeah. It's Shades and Layers, and we are talking about transformation and reinvention with Fikile Fix Moeti, social entrepreneur, lightworker, and the founder of Fix Scholarship. Up next, we discuss the scholarship itself and the various projects that have come out of it, one of them being African Affirmation cards for children. And this is a collaboration between Fikile and an alumna from the Scholarship Fund. Have a listen. Let's talk about the scholarship, actually. So it's a social enterprise, right? You're focused on impact. So, talk about how you put it together, first of all, and who were you looking for when you started handing out the opportunities?
The opportunities, that's right. So the Fix Scholarship was something that came out of an awesome school. It's a business school in Johannesburg called Gibbs, and they were one of the first business schools to ever start a social entrepreneurship program. While I was at 5FM in the beginning days, during my young days, between 20 and 24, I decided to take a little bit of a hiatus and wanted to go back to school, leave the entertainment industry for a while. Just discover other talents that I never got to discover. A lot of people, my age, were traveling the world, discovering, trying to find themselves. And a lot of people were like, are you stupid? You just won a DJ competition. And now now you're about to leave it all and just go and study and be a student again. And I was like, yeah, I'm okay with that. And I did it. And I got to Chicago, actually. I went and I studied entertainment, arts, and media management in Chicago. And one of the greatest things about being there is when I discovered what social entrepreneurship was.
Right.
Because there were courses out there, and I was doing a lot of research on them, and it was kind of bubbling under, this is what's happening. This is what's happening with social enterprise. This is what's the new impact, and you can create impact within your business. And I was like, oh, I love the sound of this kind of work, and it feels it's like what I've always wanted to do. And then I wasn't able to finish my studies at Columbia because I was just trying to look for scholarships myself and look for funding myself, and very difficult to find those things as an undergraduate. So what I ended up doing is coming back home as part of my second year, after my second year, and I said to my mom, I still want to continue my studies. So I'd looked up social entrepreneurship, and I was like, that's what I'm going to do.
Right.
And
Nice.
that will be the continuance of what I'm trying to get done. Because you know how it is in families. It's always like, get your degree. It doesn't matter. Just get your degree. So I think I had all of
Exactly.
that
Yeah, yeah.
expectations also. So I came back from the US feeling a little bit like a failure, I'll be honest.
It's
I
hard.
did.
Yeah, you went with one goal and seemingly you
Right.
didn't achieve it. Yeah.
That's it. That's it. But it opened up another door, which was really amazing. And I did the social entrepreneurship course at Gibbs Business School, the Gordon Institute of Business Science. And it was one of the best things, one of the best, most healing. And this is what we don't speak about a lot when we talk about the healing process in schools. That was not just a program to show me how to do giving me kind of a business background on how to run a nonprofit organization, for instance, or how to run a social enterprise, or how to run the logistics, how to only do monitoring and evaluation, or whatever all the things that consist of running
the
an
hard
enterprise.
skills. Yes.
The hard skills, absolutely. There was a lot of self-development in that program.
Yeah, yeah.
A lot of self-development. And the people that joined the program were really compassionate people and compassionate about the work that they did. And it was their purpose. And they made the program very specific to that. They didn't want to only say, okay, if you have a degree, or if you have this, or if you have that. They didn't put too many prerequisites surrounding it. But I mean, in terms of the theory and the practicals that we were doing, you had to get past that. It was not easy. It's not an easy course.
Sure,
I always say
sure.
this. I was like, it's definitely not an easy course. It's quite close to your PDBA and MBA, but just underneath.
Mm-hmm.
And a lot of people struggled from that perspective. But geez, the amount of knowledge I got from women who have been running organizations for 10 years because they had to within their community. They had no other choice, or something happened to them or their family members, or something happened to someone within their community. Women and men, by the way. This is obviously open to all.
Yeah.
But the true social entrepreneurs were in that program. And I was like, wow. So there was a lot of self-development within that, and things that helped me that a therapist would never be able to help me with.
All the reflections and introspections and mission statements. It's hard work. Yeah.
It's hard work, and lots of journaling and personal development journaling. And I was like, I need someone to know about this course. I need women, I need women to jump on this. And people who don't have the opportunity, who are doing great things already, this will help them. This will not only help them personally, this will help the enterprise. This will help their entirety. This is their ultimate Kundalini, So this is the bliss.
Right,
so
right.
That's what the course.
And how did you raise funds? How did you raise funds to run it?
I was very grateful when I arrived back in South Africa that my radio manager at the time, before, she was now the big boss, and she was like, "We want you back on radio." And I was just like, "Oh, I had no intentions to go back into radio. I just wanted to be a social entrepreneur." And she was like, "It's a really good deal. Just come speak to us." Right. And I was like, "You know what? It's not a bad idea to do this," because I'm one of those people where I do wear many hats, but I do struggle to be a jack of all trades when I really am super focused on something. Yeah. And I was so focused on what I wanted to create with the Fixed Scholarship. I was so focused on the work that I was doing with Gibbs. I was like, that was my be all and end all at that moment. But yes, you do need to pay for your house. You do need to pay for, expenses and, be a grown up.
Yes.
So it made sense. But not only did it do that, it gave me a platform to really take the Fixed Scholarship to another level.
Yeah.
And the station was able to assist me with the fundraisers that we did, public fundraisers, my DJ events. As being a radio DJ, I've always loved to DJ. Music is a big part of my healing process. So that's one of the many hats that I do also have. The first 2 to 3 years was really difficult. And I'll even say from the first year was really difficult because I was working so much on radio and overcommitted with radio. I was like, oh, we need to do a fundraiser. And whatever we didn't make from any DJ gig, I would just talk to the club owner or the promoter and say, hey, let's make this a fundraiser for the Fixed Scholarship. I'm not going to make any money. I'll DJ for free, but everyone that comes through the door, the money goes towards the scholarship program. And, that was kind of the deals that we were able to make. So once again, using my platform, but a one woman show that has been going for over a decade. I took a break just after COVID. I did take a break. And we still communicate as a group of ladies. We've got a WhatsApp group. We're always supporting each other. We've had 1 year, 2 scholars. The next year, we've got 5 scholarship winners. The year before that, maybe 2. So it's just dependent on our partnerships and feasibility for it.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
Yeah. And you'll still be carrying on with that work, finding new projects to support and finding new recipients to boost on their journey.
So what's been interesting is what's come out of the Fixed Scholarship. So I talk about that hiatus that I took. I can actually say it wasn't really a hiatus. What we did was we just created another project within the project. And
I love that.
From the Fixed Scholarship, and I say we now, because the beauty about the scholarship as a whole is these recipients, when I look at their CV or their resume, I go, oh my God, I'm definitely not doing enough. That's how I feel. And then when I go and watch graduation, oh my gosh. I mean, these are grown-ass women doing amazing things.
Yeah.
So I started going, why am I not collaborating with them? They keep asking, what more can we do? How else can we support? And one of the projects that was birthed from the Fixed Scholarship was African Affirmations, which are affirmation cards that I did.
That's nice. So, yeah.
So that was a collaboration with one of the Fixed Scholar recipients, one of the recipients of 2018. She's a beautiful, amazing lady named Bashira 30, and she's an occupational therapist and an advocate for children with special needs, disabilities. So we worked together on these African affirmation cards. So that's another project that we did. So as I say, as much as the Fixed Scholarship did go a little bit quiet in terms of what we do for women over the past 10 years, we moved to a project for children. And I think that coincides with the birth of my son, Malachi.
Yeah, that's great. That's great. So tell me about these African affirmation cards. What's in them? What are the kids going to love about them? What are moms going to love about them?
Oh, man. So African Affirmations came from a very traumatic time in my life. And it was when I went through my divorce.
Yeah.
And Malachi at the time was 6 months old.
Oh, gosh.
Between 6 months and 1 year. That's very early.
New mom and divorce. Christ. Girl.
Exactly. And that's the pretty stuff. I'm not getting into the nitty-gritties of it.
Right.
But it was one of the toughest things I've ever had to go through. The divorce in itself, what I had to deal with after the birth of Malachi, what I had to deal with when I left. And I felt so guilty for my son. I felt so guilty that this had happened and I should have been better and I should have thought better. And I had to do a lot of healing in that process. And this was forced me into the work that I do, the light work that I do. It's really forced me into this space. I had to go into a lot of healing for me. And while going through that healing, I remember talking to my therapist and saying, I feel this shame, I feel this guilt, I feel this, anger and all of this. And, I want Malachi to know that he's amazing. And just because this all happened to him, it wasn't his fault.
Yeah.
And I remember my therapist saying, well, what do you want to do for him? And I was like, oh, maybe I'll write a book to explain this, because how do I explain this to a child? How do I explain,
Yeah.
You only really know single momhood, and she said to me, well, if you want to write a book about it. And I was like, maybe I'll just start writing in my journal kind of thing. And then if it turns into a book, I'll write a book. And I started writing in my journal to him. And that was really helpful. And then I started remembering how many affirmation cards I was using personally for my life. And a friend of mine had got me some cards because she knew I was going through a tough time. And I was like, this is great. I was like, oh my gosh, I should do this on Malachi. This is great. But they just weren't the affirmations I would have used for him with what we were going through. And they were not really like, I was like, these kids don't look like you. We need to find kids that look like you. And my son has a speech delay. We believe it could be high functioning autism.
Right.
We're still in that space of, is it
Just
autism?
checking.
Is it
Yeah.
global developmental delay and all of that? But whatever, I'm trying not to put a name on it. Whatever it is, it's who he is.
Yeah.
And I'm celebrating him for who he is.
Yeah.
And I'm harnessing his development with what he has.
Yeah. That's
And
beautiful.
so I was just like, I want to team up with someone who kind of understands this about children. And that's when Bashira got in touch. I got in touch with Bashira, being an occupational therapist and
Right.
focus in disability and special needs. And I was like, girl, I want to make some affirmation cards. And she was like, for the African children? I said, for the African children. And and I was like, let's do it. But you know what's special about these cards? These 30 cards in a pack, and they all have different affirmations, all have different kind of kids. There's a special needs child on each card. You notice
Nice.
it very, very subtly. And the affirmations speak to the special needs. So you will see the I'm worthy of love no matter what I look like. We've got I feel healthy when I exercise, and it's like a girl running with a prosthetic leg, kicking a ball.
Yeah.
Everything was chosen very carefully. The images were done by a 13-year-old. So
Oh,
it was
wow.
that illustrated
That's so
by
cool.
kids. Yeah.
Oh,
So
that's great. Are they on your online store? Where can people find them?
So we do have an online store. It's africanaffirmations.org. You're welcome to head there.
I'll include a link for that. Yeah.
Yeah.
That's fantastic.
Yeah, we love those cards. They are you'll find that they're not only for kids, they end up being for you too. You're like, oh my gosh, I needed this card
Yeah, I
today.
need to
So
get it.
yeah,
Good.
building confidence, building self-esteem, and building also communication between you and your kid.
Yeah.
You're able to kind of just go, I'm feeling sad today. And you're like, okay, why are you feeling sad? What happened? That was the real idea behind it.
Yeah.
And I've got to say, they're one of the first cards I've ever seen, and we think still the first today, that also have Braille. So it's not only just the words, they also have Braille.
Right. Nice. That's a great touch.
Very proud of those.
Great.
Thank you.
So your light work is in your yoga studio at the yoga bar in Zanzibar. And then you've got the African Affirmations.
Which I use at the yoga bar.
Which you use it? Oh, fantastic.
I use
exactly.
them.
Tie it all in. Yes. So what's been the most surprising thing about doing business outside of South Africa?
Gosh, you have to think about that one, because there are many things, but I'm trying to think if there's anything specific. As a business owner, I've only worked in Zanzibar, and the culture difference is a massive difference.
Yeah.
Zanzibar is 90% Muslim country.
Mm-hmm.
So they take their holidays very seriously. They take their prayer time very seriously.
Mm-hmm.
They take Ramadan very seriously. And this is not to say other places do not take it seriously. I speak specifically for Zanzibar. And they take the cultural beliefs of that village. If one of the elderly pass away in the village, we mourn for that weekend. And we can't play music. And we're right on the beach, but we've got a very close connection with our village, and we don't play live music. I DJ every Saturday night. One thing I love to do. It's like when I just get into my zone. It's a meditation for me, actually DJing, I must tell you.
Yeah.
But we don't play live music. They ask us respectfully, and we say, of course, we won't play any live music, because it's just respect for the village itself. So that I've really gone back into I've gone backwards, but I've gone forward.
Yeah.
And you'll get you'll get that if you know what I mean. It's based on this conversation. It's
basically slow living. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. But you are so far forward. I just feel like my higher self has grown so much by going backwards.
Yeah. It's timeless, basically. I mean,
that's it.
Because you can't put it in the past, you can't put it in the future, or it's just timeless.
Absolutely. So I speak then particularly with that question from a cultural perspective, which has been really, really interesting. I mean, everyone in Zanzibar really works in cash most of the time. So I went from this like card society and tapping with my phone to like, sorry, we don't take cards. Sorry, we don't take cards. Sorry, we don't take cards.
That's funny.
And I mean, it's the village, you know, like cards, if they have to, but like it's very much a cash society unless you're dealing with obviously a tourist, the big tourism economy, of course.
Yeah.
And that's also what 60% of my guests are tourists coming from all over the world. We've got a huge European influx each year, each season. And yeah, a lot of things are in dollars and euros because of that within the hotels, which is also very interesting.
Yeah.
So, just the way in which different countries work has been quite an eye opener for me.
That's interesting. Yeah. Yeah. It's now time to get into the Shades and Layers rapid fire with our guest, Fikile Moeti. And before we get to that, I have to let you know that we both got the name of an actress so very wrong during our conversation. It is in fact Gugumbata Raw and not Tandimbata, as we both say. I guess her name slipped both of our minds at the time. But nevertheless, let's get into the story of how it all started for Fikile. How did she become the person that she is today? So the entrepreneurial journey, has that always been something you wanted to do? You know, how were those seeds planted?
Definitely from the matriarch. We have the sisters and the elderly grandmothers who have really showed the path. And I mean, I need to give credit to my grandfather and my great-grandfather. What strong men and loving men and compassionate men. That is one thing I have. Gentle giants is what the words I want to use.
Right.
Gentle giants that took care of their families, took care of their wives. And from them, I've learned so much. And from them, they have taught the family so much in terms of what is important. My great-grandfather, from my mother's side, was a teacher, a headmaster here in the Eastern Cape. And I mean, that was passed on also to the rest of the family, to his kids. However, my one grandmother became a nurse, and soon after fighting for her rights and not wanting Bantu education, she went the political freedom fighter way. And she's a very well-known diplomat, a former diplomat. She's almost reaching 90 soon. And she is still doing talks with her books.
What's her name?
Her name is, if you ever get to find her book, she's got her memoir that's out. It's Tandile Ranko Lujabe. And she was posted in Norway, was her first posting.
Oh,
and
nice.
That was because the Norwegian government, or should I say the Norwegian consulate on the African continent, were hiding her. So when she made it onto the list, the
banned.
The banned list,
yeah.
She had to flee, obviously, South Africa,
sure,
from the apartheid regime, and went into Botswana. The Norwegian consulate would hide her there, and then when they found out she was there, she would head to Mozambique or in Tanzania. There was also the comrades that were in Tanzania. And basically, she built a very strong connection with the Norwegian government. And that was her first posting. And many other postings after that. But yes, she's an amazing woman. Please get her books. They inspire me every day. And she's one of the main reasons why I do what I do. We had big shoes to fill.
Yep. Giant shoes to fill.
Shoes to fill, but she was the reason why most of my family, I speak about my mother now, my mom's sister, my mom's brother, there were 7 of them. She is the reason why all of them got to study outside South Africa.
Yeah.
Because they wanted a better education for them.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I'm here. I'm literally here because of education.
Fantastic.
So the audacity of me not to give opportunity I mean, it just wouldn't make sense for me personally. That's it for me
Yeah.
personally.
Yeah.
It's just, yeah.
Pay it forward. Yeah. Yeah.
You gotta, in your
That's
own way.
wonderful. Yeah, of course. Of
Mm.
course. Great. You did mention that none of them were in the public eye the way that you have been. So, who were your mentors and, people you could go to for guidance to handle this spotlight living?
My mother, my
Wonderful.
biological, amazing mother, whose house I'm in right now.
Yes, Mom. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you. As much as she wasn't in the entertainment industry or understood it and just saw it from afar, I mean, there wasn't even social media really at that time.
Yeah.
When I was at MTV VJ, I think Facebook was only started or had just been created, so it wasn't. It was still in Boston, or where did it start? Somewhere in the US. It was
Yeah,
still.
here in Boston. I'm actually in
In,
Boston. It was here in the dorm rooms
oh, well, there we go. There we go.
before
It
they
was
all went
happening.
out to Cali.
Exactly. So it was still there as a little pilot project. So, so for me, it was my mom who just said, just remember who you are, remember where you're from, and remember you can always come home. So
Oh, that's nice.
it was the grounding things that I needed to hear to be reminded of, if it doesn't work out, you're not a failure. Like, you've never been the girl to like get into a skimpy bikini and like twerk all over the TV. Like, it's just not who you are. And you know what? I don't have anything against you. If that's who you are, it's who you are. But she's just like, you know who you are. And I think that
Mm,
I really do come from a solid grounding from that
yeah,
perspective.
yeah, yeah.
My mom's always known that I was quite strong in who I was from that. So I think that always held me, and that was her affirmations towards me.
Mm,
And she would
yeah,
affirm me from that perspective, and I loved that. But she
yeah.
just said, just go. She said, go have fun and enjoy and live your life. And when you're not having fun, is when you know you need to change. And that's what happened. When I knew that it was time, I would change. I love the experiences I got to have, but I also knew who I was.
Yeah, that's amazing. And
Mm.
how has that influenced your motherhood journey?
Woo! That's a journey on its own, and that's been a healing journey. So my mom actually had me when she was 18 years old, very
Baby.
young.
Yeah.
She was very, very young. And here's the hard part. She was so scared to tell her parents that the only time that her parents knew that she was pregnant was the day that I was being birthed. The day. She
What?
right, right, right. We openly talk about it now, but this was her story. But like, the day that I was going to be born was when they were like, she was like complaining about tummy pains. She
Oh,
knew that she was
no.
pregnant,
Oh.
and that was it. And she wasn't ready to have me. She was, it was like a complete traumatic experience for
I'm
her.
sure. I'm sure. Yeah.
And
Oh,
and
no.
and those things, and that carries within your nervous system, and it
Of
carries on
course.
to the
Yeah.
child.
Yeah.
So there's been a lot of work that we've been doing. I've been
Mm-hmm.
doing, and I'm slowly getting her there. So I say that because that has a lot of impact on my birthing story too.
Mm.
And I wasn't aware of it. I just knew I want a child at 30. I was like, 30 years old, I want my first kid. And it happened. It happened.
Mm.
But I had to wake up and go, oh my God, this is the hardest thing I've ever done in my entire life.
Mm.
And also just be compassionate to myself about certain truths where I was like, oh my gosh, I feel like my life has come to an end, or like I feel like I've stopped being Fikile, and I feel like I can't be who I am freely, and I feel like shameful for the things that have happened now because I had to get out of that relationship for the safety
Mm.
of me and the safety of my son. I feel like I have to do this all by myself. And, I went through a traumatic experience with my birth, like my mom had.
Yeah.
I didn't have my child at 18. I had my child at 30, and that was a big thing. It's like, I'm not going to have a child when it's young because, to see what my mom went through. And, we talk about it all the time and da, 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 da. But, these things are generational, and I'm trying to really break that cycle is kind of the work that I'm currently doing now.
Sure. Yeah.
And just understanding that being a mom of a boy child, so working on that too.
Yeah.
he's on,
Boy
he's only
children.
6 years
Yeah.
old. Yeah. He's
I
only six,
know.
but
Yeah. Yeah.
um,
Oh, the
but
messages are so strong though about,
mm,
what a boy
mm,
is and how they should be. I
mm,
mean, I
I'm very fortunate to have a lot of help. I have met a lovely partner in my life who lives with us in Zanzibar.
mm, mm,
And I mean, we run the yoga bar together, and
amazing.
a lot of beauty has come from it. And my son has that backing, that male foundation, also. It's male teaching. Sorry,
Yeah.
and I'm
Yeah.
very grateful for that. But there's still a lot to be done. But I also need to be patient and enjoy the miracles of right now. There's so many miracles. Malachi means messenger, and I truly believe that he has been my messenger since his birth, or even before his birth. I mean, he chose me.
Wonderful. Wonderful. So that brings me to the rapid fire.
Mm-hmm.
First thing that comes to mind, you writing a memoir, what would you call it and why?
It would definitely be something about women, helping women, being part of a women community. It'll be around that. From like, I wouldn't call it like patriarchy, but something along those lines.
Yeah,
Not
okay.
necessarily a political book, but it'll definitely be along those lines. I've been thinking about that for a while now.
Yeah.
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 We've been trying to get a fixed scholarship coffee table book out for a
Oh,
while.
cool.
For our 10 years, we tried to get it out, but we didn't manage. So it's still something that we've got in our set of goals.
Okay.
So yeah, that's the
We're
next
looking
thing that
out
I
for
know that
that.
we'll do.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
Cool. And if you had to turn the same memoir into a biopic, who would you choose to be the lead actress?
Nah, good question. I don't know why she just came to my mind, and I don't know why, because she's not from South Africa. She's from the UK.
That's
but
fine.
but she's South African. Her name is Thandi Ro Bata or Mabata.
Oh,
Thandi
yeah.
Ro.
Yeah. Tandiwe. Yeah. Mbata. Mbata. That's it.
Yeah, Mbata. Yes. I don't know
Yeah.
why she came to my head, but her.
She's
Don't ask me
fantastic. That's
why.
why.
Yeah, so
Yeah,
random.
cool. Oh, that's an interesting choice at first.
Yeah, we don't even look anything alike.
She's an actress. She can do
Yes,
it.
make it work.
Great. And which famous Black woman would you invite to dinner, living or dead?
I've got this journal, a dream journal, and I've written down a list of people I'd like to meet in my life, living or dead. Oh, this is a hard one. This is a hard one for me because I don't want to say like an obvious person,
Why not?
because I know deep down I'm saying it because it's an obvious person.
All right. Okay. That's fair.
But I know it would come to me at some point.
Yeah.
But you know who I wouldn't mind and sitting with again? It's my grandmother.
Nice.
That's it. It's my grandmother. I didn't realize how much I was learning from her before she died. And it's my mother's mother, and she is everything that she said. Now, everything that she said to me has kind of come true. And whenever I have thoughts, or whenever I see like a little bird sitting on my windowsill, or the whales go past, and I'm watching the ocean,
Yeah.
there's this vibe that happens in the back of my head going, grandma's come to say hi, or
Oh, yeah.
my grandmother comes up. So I feel like there's a lot of communication that happens between me and her when I'm in my higher self. So I wouldn't mind it, just the communication being a little bit more clearer sometimes when I need it the most.
Say it.
Yes.
Speak human, please.
Yes.
Oh, that's lovely.
Yeah.
Great.
So thank
So,
you for letting me have that opportunity.
yeah, sure. Absolutely. Absolutely. I think we learn so much from each other's stories. That's why I have these conversations.
Mm. Mm.
So if somebody wants to, live as creatively as you do, where would you advise them to start?
I would advise them to, and I learned this from Elizabeth Gilbert, I would advise them to write a letter to fear and list all the things that you are fearful of.
Mm-hmm.
And from there, you'll find that your step forward is a whole lot easier because actually your list is very small, not that big. It's just when it's in your mind and it's in your head, it feels much bigger. It feels like Everest. But if you just break it down, actually you will manage and just make it past day 3.
And where can people find you if they want to work with you, find out what it is that you do, or give you money?
Gosh, that's been an interesting one. I've had to do a lot of clearing and a lot of affirmations of being deserving of earning good money. If you want to get in touch with me, you can go into my social media. On Instagram, I'm at Moeti. Otherwise, you can also go check out the yoga bar, Zanzibar.com. That's our website. And just look out for retreats. That's a huge one that I'm launching this season. First season was establish our place, establish community, grow the studio, grow the Shala, grow the place. The second season, third season is now officially retreat.
And if you do want to learn more about those retreats and any of Fikile's other projects, please go to the show notes. There are some links included there. Thank you so much for listening and for your ongoing support. If you enjoyed this episode or you think somebody else might enjoy it, please do spread the love and share it. Thank you for listening. Thank you for your ongoing support. I'm Kudlwana Skosana Richie. And until next time, please do take good care.